Now is we just going to build on the foundation that is Christ. And so we've come and we've been burning up the wood, hay, and stubble. Yep. Which is the carnal mind and how the carnal mind has defined everything. And now we've been burning up the wood, hay, and stubble. And now we're going to start getting the nitty-gritty of what things really are. In a couple of weeks, honestly, these messages we're preaching about Christ are the most practical messages. I think sometimes for human beings, the scariest thing for us is to live by the Spirit. We're so scared to just actually live by the desire in our heart and to live by the Spirit. We want a set of rules. We want a guy that we say has wisdom. We want that guy to tell us what wisdom will do, and then we want to do that.
Go do that. Right.
That's what we want to do. And we call that practical. Right? Yeah. Listen, man, that's not living by the Spirit. Rather, let me preach the Spirit that is wisdom so that wisdom can dwell in you, and then you can see everything through the eyes of wisdom, and that will bring forth fruit in you. Right? We want so badly for somebody to tell us how something should look, and then we want to go mimic it. Right. We actually feel safer that way. Right? Because we think it's unknown to live by the Spirit. Bingo. We're so scared our heart's evil. We're so scared our heart's wicked. Because that's what we've been taught. But in the next few weeks, I'll preach about what does it mean to restore one another in meekness, and how do we walk with one another, and how do we restore one another when one of us experiences, quote unquote, what the world would call a fall. When they find themselves in bondage to something in their lives. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with that the way God would deal with it? And then we'll talk about forgiveness between people, because just like Mo so beautifully pointed out, self-justification is like up in everything. Everything. And even Christians' idea of what it means to say I'm sorry to one another is filled with self-justification. Yes. It's been defined by the carnal mind. And now I'm sorry has become about who's right and who's wrong. When that ain't got nothing to do with it. And so now, even in our relationships, when we're trying to walk in forgiveness with one another, we've allowed the carnal mind to come in, and even in our relationships, it's all about self-justification. Saying sorry to one another is all about self-justification. Fighting over who's right and who's wrong. That ain't got nothing to do with it, man. And in the day, we try to deal with it from that foundation. Listen, it'll never bring forth what forgiveness between people is designed to bring forth. It will actually bring forth the opposite. It'll actually bring forth more fighting, more bitterness, more anger, more distance, more separation, more fault finding, all of that stuff. More condemning amongst people, more separation in relationship. That's what it will bring forth. That's never had a place in I'm sorry. Yeah. It's not ever supposed to have a place in I'm sorry. When we say we're sorry, do you know what it's designed to do? It's designed to communicate something to the other person to help them see the thought and intent in your heart accurately. Because when someone else feels hurt by us or offended by us, they're being tempted to judge the thoughts and intents in our heart. They're being tempted to see as if we are against them, as if we wanted to hurt them, as if we don't love them, as if we don't care about their lives, as if we're not considering them. See, they're being tempted to judge us by how they feel. And now our image is trying to be marred in their heart. Now, when you say you're sorry to somebody, who cares if you did anything wrong, man? If they're hurt, they're being tempted to believe a lie. And so when you come and say you're sorry, you know what you're doing? You're helping them to see that the thought and intent in your heart was never to harm them. It was never to bring them pain. It was never to be against them. It was only ever to be for them. It was only ever to love their life. It was only ever to try to uphold them. It was only ever trying to love them, be with them, care for them. You see, now their heart can see that easier in the midst of temptation. It's like coming with let there be light in the middle of their darkness. Because if they can see that your heart was only pure, guess what happens? The offense leaves. The offense leaves. And now your image in their heart isn't marred. And so now they're not knowing you like a caricature. They're knowing you for your heart and who you really are. And see, from that foundation, it becomes easy to tell people you're sorry. because you're not even thinking about who's right and wrong. You don't care. All you care about is let this person on the other side of me know my heart is actually only full of love for them and to do good to them. That's all that matters.
And that's why Paul would say a godly sorrow that leads to repentance brings life. Because when you truly feel for that person and express that to that person, when you did something wrong to them or whatever, it communicates something to them that brings repentance in their heart, and life is the result.
Life is the result. And I mean,